It's funny. I had Float written at the same time that I had Edge of Extinction written. So when I sold Edge of Extinction, they said, we like your book, but we want you to split it into two. So originally, it was just called The Arc Plan. It wasn't called The Edge of Extinction. So I spent a lot of time breaking that book into two books, but the whole while I had Float sitting there already completed. And it's actually a book that's very close to my heart because there's a lot of stories in there that came from my dad's childhood. So I grew up hearing these crazy stories about him like lighting the lake on fire and trying to lasso a pig and almost killing himself and all sorts of crazy stories. And so when I started writing Float, I was like, oh, I'll just give these kids my dad's crazy stories. And so it was the fastest book I've ever written because I already had all those stories in my memory. And I actually remember calling my dad and saying, like, what else do you got? I've got a scene I need to add here. He's like, well, this one time, I flipped a boat over and there was a ton of snakes underneath it. And I was like, done. So and he said, and then I tried to take the boat on the lake and it almost sunk because it had a hole in it, but I thought I could beat the hole across the lake. And so you'll see that those scenes show up in the book because I was pulling all those stories from his childhood and from my own camp experiences because it's kids at a camp, but not the kind of camp you would normally think of as camp, but I got to pull a lot of my own memories in as well. So that was fun. So it was a very easy book to write, almost easier, I would say, than the Edge of Extinction series, because in the Edge of Extinction series, I was building this whole world of what the world looked like if dinosaurs had come back and you kind of took the human race out of it. Whereas with Float, I was just pulling a lot of my own memories in. As far as book launch initiatives, it's funny because when I first started this, I didn't know you were supposed to have those. But the learning curve has been interesting because I feel like I started like really at the bottom of that learning curve of being an author. But I've got a few things planned. My favorite thing to do as an author is school visits. So I have a school visit planned actually at the old middle school I used to teach at. Contacted some of my people there and said, would you like to be like the first school that launches Float? And they said, of course. So that's going to be really fun. I'm going to get to launch Float there. And then I just have a few events planned at our local library. One of my favorite tips for authors is make friends with your librarians because they are amazing magicians as far as like contacting schools and throwing events. So we're going to have a really fun event there to launch it and have s'mores, and I'm going to do an author talk. And then I think we're also going to be doing a like launch party at a local independent bookstore called 4Kids.